What is going on, everyone? Mr. Mom Collectibles back with another video. And Hot Toys, they are giving us heat coming off of Chinese New Year, and we are finally getting one of the teased figures that I think a lot of people were waiting for, with the continuation of the Deadpool Wolverine movie. We now have the second figure in the Resistance, and that is, of course, Blade, who is arguably probably one of the more popular cameo appearances in that movie. And so here we have this version. Obviously, this isn't the look of Blade from the original movies that I think a lot of people more know him from. This is the updated version from Deadpool Wolverine with the suit. Nonetheless, I really do think that overall Hot Toys delivered with this piece. Obviously it's like the older version of Wesley Snipes' Blade, but I think it looks absolutely fantastic with all the accessories and everything it comes with. A couple standout things for me that I noticed was obviously the rocket launcher is such a sick piece with the smoke effect, with the missile shooting out. And when he made that comment about there's only ever going to be one Blade and shoots that rocket, that is so cool. I think the outfit's pretty neat. It's pretty basic, nothing too crazy. It looks like a suit with some armor plating over it. The base itself looks like it's repurposed or reused to some extent. It reminds me of the Iron Man Mark I when he came with the alternate bases, where it was like the platform and then like the rock base. It also kind of looks like the one that came with the exclusive Deadpool in a way, not perfect. That's probably going to have been one of my gripes about this specific series of figures from this line, are that the bases are very inconsistent from figure to figure. So when you have them all actually displayed, I think they're going to look a little mismatched, if that is a big deal to you. I know that the X-23 has an identical base to Blade, may not be the exact one, but it's close to. I think she's using the base that came with the Iron Man Mark 85 and the Obi-Wan Kenobi from the show. So that was one of my only concerns about this line of figures. If you're all in getting them, is there might be some inconsistency with them. Like I said, if the bases are a big deal to you. If it's not, then hey, everything I said, it's all bullshit. But anyway, getting back to a couple other things. The sculpt itself, I think, looks great with the glasses on. When he takes the glasses off, it does show the age of the figure, which does look accurate, looks older, and also has like kind of like vampire look to him. So I think a lot of people are probably going to end up just leaving the sunglasses on, because that is obviously the more iconic look. Now, the one thing I thought was pretty interesting was they're calling it a first edition exclusive accessory, which is his actual sword that he's very known for using, that has that open handle at the bottom. It's interesting because typically when Hot Toys does things like this, they just basically call them, an exclusive piece, maybe something that you get from Sideshow versus other dealers. But it's just interesting with the terminology first edition. I don't know exactly what that means. I did go on Sideshow's website. The piece is up for pre-order at $290 before tax and shipping. So it is a little bit of a, it's not cheap. It looks like that 280 plus mark is becoming the new standard for most of the Hot Toys. So this piece is going to run you over 300 easily. And going off of Sideshow at the moment, and I'll put the screenshots here so you guys can also see, I went into the description of the figure, and it does call out that the piece from Sideshow does come with this first edition sword. So maybe it's just a different terminology. I know Sideshow normally has exclusive accessories only through them. So this might just be that, and they're just wording it differently. Nonetheless, I could see it being a little confusing for collectors. I saw some people commenting on there, like, what does that mean? Does that mean like first batch? What does that actually mean? If it just comes down to it depends on where you order it from and you get the sword, then I don't see why Hot Toys needed to kind of go with the first edition terminology just to further confuse people. But it's an interesting thing because I'm usually not one of those that really care much about certain accessories. But in this case, the sword to me is a very iconic piece for this character, especially if anyone is planning on possibly picking up more than one, maybe doing a kit bash. I could see this head sculpt alone being very valuable on the secondary market if people want to swap it out with, like, I think Present Toys did Blade or other companies, third-party companies. So I can see people really wanting the head sculpt being in demand, because this is literally, the first licensed Wesley Snipes Blade sculpt that we have. If I'm correct about that. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. I don't know if Hot Toys did a Blade previously. If they did, then I'm wrong. You can correct me in the comments. But overall, like I said, the piece looks great. This is one that I'm definitely going to be picking up. I really enjoyed the whole Resistance group. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing Gambit personally. Now that I see what Hot Toys have done with this, the only thing that concerns me really about this figure overall is what the final is going to look like. I've been a little more critical, I should say, critical of Hot Toys when it comes to the prototype to the final, that I see that there's a bit of a degradation or a drop off in that. And sometimes it's okay for sculpts, but sometimes that small drop off can really impact a head sculpt. And so for this case, I think the prototype is fantastic. I have absolutely no issues with the prototype. There's nothing that I would change with it. There's nothing at all. If this could get carried over to final, I think this is going to be a phenomenal piece, especially because it's a very iconic character. Wesley Snipes is a very, he's a very known actor. So it's a sculpt that they really can't screw up. Same thing with like the Wolverine. I keep saying that over and over. The Hugh Jackman, that's one they just can't afford to screw up. I think this line in general, same thing with Gambit. When we see that one, the Shannon Tatum Gambit, that's another one that they just can't afford to screw up. And same thing with Elektra. So it will be interesting to see. This line is going to be a very expensive one. I think it's going to surpass possibly the Spider-Man No Way Home line, which that alone was I think a $4,000 to $5,000 set if you were all in on the figures. And this one is easily looking to possibly surpass that, just because they're being trickled out very slowly. And there's just so many versions that they can do. And I've been telling collectors every time I've been doing these reviews on these figures, the one batch of figures that we have not seen yet, if we are going to see them, are the Wolverine variants or some of the variants. I know a lot of collectors are looking for that yellow and brown Wolverine that Hugh Jackman donned in the movie. So it's just, if this is a line that you really have to be patient with, Hot Toys is evidently showing you that they're in no rush to put these figures out quickly. They're going to trickle them out as they want to. And so assuming we get the entire Resistance, then they could potentially move on to Wolverine variants. So as a collector, you really have to be cautious about how overwhelming this line could very well be and how into it are you going to get. So that's my only word of caution, because like I said, these pieces are coming in at that $280, $290 mark, if not higher. So this is definitely going to be an expensive set if you're all in on most of these characters. But this one, I know people were very, anxiously waiting for it, especially because it was teased. And so I'm glad that Hot Toys was able to fulfill on that tease. They don't always do that. And so I think it's a great looking piece. I will definitely be picking it up, probably from Sideshow. I'm debating about maybe getting two of them, just because the amount of accessories is just, it's so difficult to figure out how to display this figure. I love the photograph of him shooting the missile out. I used it as the thumbnail for this video, and then also him with the sword. So there's just going to be so many options to, you can have Blade with the Resistance or have Blade by himself. So there's going to be a lot of options, but nevertheless, options aren't always a bad thing for collectors. But if you are picking this one up or you're excited about it, I'm really happy for you guys. Let me know what your thoughts are below. Drop a comment as always. Drop a like on this video if you don't mind. Helps push it out there to YouTube and shows the engagement. And if you're new to this channel and you enjoy this kind of content and more, please consider subscribing to the channel. And until then, this is Mr. Mom Collectibles, as always, saying take care, and I will see you guys in the next video.